Hi, and welcome to the Animator's commentary for Crisis Reverted. I'm known as Ancient Bricks on bricksinmotion.com and on YouTube, and I'm going to be talking about the first two-thirds of this film, which is primarily the part that I animated. The logo you see here was all filmed live, the thing rolling in, and this crumble that you see was actually filmed live with me knocking off one brick at a time. About 20 minutes worth of video total that I then went through and animated together just to get the fall of each brick and to cut out all the pauses between and me getting up to stretch my legs, that kind of thing. So the editing that thing was a nightmare. It took me forever, but kind of a neat effect, I thought, finally, and pretty long for a logo. I'm happy that this film is long enough I could justify using a logo that long, finally. As you noticed, this film was a co-production between myself and PwC. He essentially did the last third of the film, which was set in the 33rd century after the time travel has taken place. So my part of the animation was this segment you're seeing here, and then essentially what we called Scene 3 and Scene 4. So we'll talk about that as we go through. Now for this effect right here, I actually wrote all this up in a composition notebook, and filmed it laying on top of a green sheet that was brightly lit. Taped to the back of this notebook was a DVD case full of coins, and taped closed and taped to the back of that thing to make that notebook very heavy, so as I'm turning the pages it wouldn't slip and slide around on the table. So then you can see the idea was then to use a green screen effect, a chroma key out the green screen, so I could put this, what looks like a Lego desk behind it, so it looks like the notebook setting on a Lego desk. One of the tricks I used for this scene was so I could turn the pages without my hands being seen as I'm sitting below there turning the pages as I filmed that part live, obviously. I put Scotch tape tabs on the bottom of each page, and I was able to use those tabs to grab onto to flip those pages without getting my hands in the shot. Then a digital zoom on that last little sketch that I traced. I actually traced this image into the composition notebook, and then so I could get that little fade there, and that fade from the notebook into that first shot, the context wide shot of this time travel research facility. Yes, Rose? So here we are in what we called Scene 3. We essentially cut out Scene 1 and Scene 2 because we didn't have time to finish them. They would have been the ship flying in, bringing the cadet to the facility, and Scene 2 would have been the cadet walking through hallways trying to find Buchanan's office here. So here we are, Scene 3, a long dialogue shot that I edited. I like the effect of him taking the helmet off there. Of course, the hair really doesn't fit under the helmet, so when I filmed him taking the helmet off, once the helmet is high enough, you could see that he had no hair on at all. Then once I got the helmet out of the way enough, then I could put the hair in position on his head and continue filming from there. So what I had to do then later was, in Photoshop, go into each frame where the bald head was visible through the helmet, and edit in paste in the hair, what I call that Conan O'Brien hair. Reminds me of Conan O'Brien talk show host. The tile there that you see held up of the details of the report is just ink scribbles on the back of a piece of Scotch tape that I cut square and stuck onto a 2x2 tile.
Really? How's that?
You know, we've had temporal imaging technology.
So as I was doing these shots here, planning this, I was trying to keep the film interesting with a lot of different camera angles, because the dialogue it's a pretty long, maybe 3-4 minutes conversation here, setting up the plot of the film. So here's a classic sort of over the shoulder shot. Here's over the other character's shoulder. I call this kind of a close up of the cadet, the close up of Buchanan, straight on shot. Again, the over-the-shoulder shot.
Our analysis of the
over the shoulder.
chains that led to the war includes the accidental.
And you'll notice the first one of the first shots in this scene. You see a wide shot of the desk and the whole room, and you see the cadet walk up to the desk to kind of give some context for that.
So that's it. You want me to
We were on
say
a pretty
the
tight deadline for this film. It was for a contest. I found out about the contest with only about 2.5 months left on it, so we had to work pretty fast. So, unlike some other projects I've worked on where I've written out more detailed exposure sheets to spell out the timing of the animation ahead of time, for this, I did real simple sort of notes about I want the character to raise his arm and twist his hand and do this, just so I would know the basic motions. And then when I sat down to film those things, I just filmed kind of small motions. And then after I filmed them, using Monkey Jam, I went through and kind of changed the timing of the frames as necessary to get the motions to be the speeds that I wanted them to be. So I really just massaged what I filmed so I could get done with filming more quickly. And then kind of fix things after the fact using Monkey Jam and what I call frame manipulation, where I might duplicate I'd be working at 30 frames per second, but if I held a frame for 2 frames, and that's the equivalent of 15 frames per second. If I held a frame for 3 frames, that's the equivalent of 10 frames per second, and then I could do all kind of weird things in between and help me do ease in and ease out of motions by having those first and last movement frames be a little bit longer than the overall motion. I could easily cut out a frame if the motion was too slow. So that was kind of the basic idea for how I sort of did the timing for the animation. Maybe not ideal, but given the time frame and deadline of the film, it was really the only way to get all these shots filmed. This is a very dialogue-heavy film for a brick film.
Once you're there, we have no way to bring you back. You'll be stranded in the 33rd century.
And if I fail in my mission,
There's another wide shot of the two.
the Talidian ship.
And here the
goes up.
cadet will blink for
Me
effect.
and
That blink was done in Photoshop on those particular frames. And of course in the frame manipulation of Monkey Jam. This is my the biggest set that I made, the time travel lab with the machine that produces the energy, then the big giant red column where actually is the time vehicle that the cadet will get in. It was a lot of fun making those Star Trek doors open up. I sort of spaced out how fast I would do those, and as he's walking through, I actually was filming at like 30 frames per second, but his walk was 10 frames per second, so I would move the door 3 times for every time I moved the cadet walking in, doing his steps. For every one movement I made of him, I moved that door three times. Hope that makes sense.
I look ridiculous.
Yes, you do.
I got a kick out of that squeaky hair as he twists his hair. Benefit of Legos is you can twist their hair.
Like Neil Armstrong landing on the moon, or Donovan and Powell traveling through.
As I was animating these dialogue sales, I tried to
But it's
think
a
of
secret mission
some kind of creative motions to do to kind of keep it from just being still shots of them standing there. So I did a lot of tried to do subtle hand movements, the hand twisting out for emphasis. I used some blinks here and there to kind of to liven things up, or for emphasis, or for a pause or something. You see, he moved his hand in for 11:23 and to the right for 11:24.
It's not that simple.
This shot right here is actually just a digital zoom on a wide shot, and then as the shot came to an end, I changed the focus to focus on that clock on the back wall that displays the destination setting for the time machine, the target time.
The chronometer on your uniform has been equipped with a hypertemporal
It's supposed to be a close-up of the chronometer, him pointing to that little dial on his shirt, so we'll know that's the watch or his clock that is later going to get broken. He had to kind of set that up a little bit.